Now, for more on these updates, we are being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibul, live from Paris on the phone line. Siddhant, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed in Paris, of course. How is his day looking today?
Well, the Indian Prime Minister will be meeting President Macron. There will be a private dinner hosted for him, but he will be addressing the diaspora here, something that has been a significant feature of his foreign visits abroad. He, of course, has several other meetings lined up as well. But essentially, this visit will be a visit that will be focusing on how both countries, India and France, work together at a time of great geopolitical flux. The focus, of course, of the visit remains on defense. India and France are working together in several aspects when it comes to defense. We saw the Scorpion deal in 2006. We saw the Rafale fighter jet announcement and delivery just in past few years. And now, today, of course, we saw the news coming from New Delhi that India will be procuring Rafale M, that's for INS Vikrant. Essentially, there have been other pillars of this relationship as well. One, of course, has been space, then, of course, civil nuclear as well. But largely, the focus remains as to how the Indian Prime Minister, of course, engages with the French side. He, of course, is the guest of honor, the chief guest at the Bastille Day parade that takes place tomorrow, where, of course, the Indian Rafales will be doing the fly past. We will also see the Indian fly service contingent taking part in the
All right, we're having some technical issues connecting with our principal diplomatic correspondent. We will be reconnecting as and when. So for those of you who are just joining in, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed in Paris. He's currently meeting with high-level diplomats from France, from across specters of France, and he has also met with the French Prime Minister Elizabeth Borne at the Orly airport. Now, we're being told that our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibul, has joined us live back. And Siddhant, if you could continue the point you were making.
Well, the Indian Prime Minister will be meeting the President of the Senate. He will be meeting the Prime Minister of the France. There, of course, is the community event and a private dinner hosted by the French President. We know that India-France relationship is a relationship that has multiple pillars as the key pillar of the relationship, whether it's defense, civil nuclear energy, space, but also in terms of the entire visit, we will see a celebration of 25 years of India-France strategic partnership. As part of it, both countries will be keen that there is a roadmap for next 25 years and perhaps 50 years as well. France, of course, plays an important role when it comes to supporting India's bid for a reformed United Nations Security Council. France obviously supports India when it comes to dealing with the issue of terrorism. It has several times backed India's proposal for listing of Pakistani terrorists at the United Nations Security Council. France in the past has supported India at the MTCR, the Wazinar Agreement. These are important global groupings where, of course, India now is closely working in terms of forming global rules as well. But essentially, France has stood by India in several ways. It is, of course, well known that France was among the major countries after the Pokhran nuclear test by India to, of course, not sanction India and continued its engagement with the Indian side. So a lot of things on the anvil, but above all, the visit will see a celebration of this relationship as to how both countries work together at a time of great geopolitical flux.
Absolutely, Siddhant. And if we could just delve a little deep into the new deal that we have just been told about, the new Rafale jets that India is going to buy, 26 of them. The timing is absolutely crucial, and we were expecting an announcement like this as and when Indian Prime Minister reaches Paris. But what does this say about the extension of the defense ties that New Delhi and Paris has held over the years?
Well, India has a trilogy of countries which support when it comes to defense procurement issues. That's France, Russia, and the US. Now, France has been vital in terms of supporting India's defense needs, whether it's the Scorpion deal, whether it is the Rafale jets, and now, of course, today the announcement which has come from Delhi is that the acceptance of necessity for procurement of 26 Rafale maritime aircraft has been given, along with, of course, the Indian side keen on other ancillary equipments and weapons as well. And France, of course, will be more than keen to help India at a time when India is keen to engage with the French side. One focus area for defense is that co-production is something that is focused area for both India and France, and we will see some kind of announcement regarding it. The manufacturing of engine is something that is another area that can see a major announcement. But all in all, when it comes to India-France relationship, a larger relationship, we have seen how both countries have been working, whether it's the domain of civil nuclear energy, whether it's the domain of space. In fact, space pacts are expected to be announced. And also, of course, when it comes to education as well, more and more Indian students are keen to study in France.
Siddhant, now let's shift our focus a little. Just before his departure for France, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was interviewed by a French newspaper, and where he clearly laid out something that India has been very, very clear about over the Russia-Ukraine war. He said that India always has stood for peaceful resolution of differences through dialogue and diplomacy, and also that New Delhi is deeply concerned about the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war. Now, this is something that can come up in the meetings that he's going to have with the French President Emmanuel Macron. So, how do you think the French side will take this up, given that not only is it a NATO member, but France, unlike India, has taken a very, very clear stance in its war of Russia and Ukraine, where it's supporting Ukraine in all its might?
Well, India has been, since the outbreak of conflict, calling for dialogue and diplomacy. In fact, even as we speak, Secretary West in the Ministry of External Affairs, Sanjay Verma, is in Kyiv, and this is the first such visit from an Indian official to France since the outbreak of the conflict. So India has been doing what it can do, but India is taking care of its interests as well. Now, France has its own interests as well. France is a European country which is much more impacted by the situation in Ukraine. But when it comes to the situation in Indo-Pacific, where China has been aggressive, we might not see very vocal comments coming from European countries, and that is something that India has highlighted several times. So essentially, during this visit, this is something that will be part of the conversation, but how India takes forward is something we all know, that India will be calling for dialogue and diplomacy as to a way to resolve the issue. And we know that how India has been very vocal in highlighting that there has been a fallout of this conflict in terms of food, fuel and fertilizer prices globally as well. And that has impacted everyone, whether it's a person in India or whether it's a person in Africa.
All right, Siddhant, thank you for getting us all those insights from Paris, and we will be closely tracking the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to France. Thank you so much.